Hello everybody and welcome to QubeTubers. This is Kregoth and I'm streaming a current game called LinkRealms. I'm having trouble moving the bar. Alright, sorry about that guys, a little bit of trouble. This is LinkRealms, and with me I have two very special guests. They are both developers of this very game. This is an MMO currently in beta, and it's a special treat for all of the QubeTubers here. They are actually allowing open registration within their game for the duration of this indie event. So you don't have to wait till the next Saturday to get a key or an invite. So you just go to the website, which is this. Log in and make an account and you can join the game. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Okay, I'll start. My name's Paul Whitty. My in-game name is Quester Thews, and I'm one of the co-founders of Mythin Interactive.
I'm Herb Flower. I'm Rewolf in the game, and I'm the main artist, animator, sound effects, map work, basically everything you see in the game. And not with us is Dan Flower. He's Flaxen in game, and he does the engine code and the pet AI and some of the complex stuff like that. And our company is Mythin Interactive, and we've been around for, I'm not sure, 4 years as Mythin, and we're basically just the three of us put this whole thing together.
Yeah, so why don't you go ahead and explain to the audience here, what is LinkRealms?
Originally, this game started, the intent was to have it as a browser-based game. The idea was people could create their own realm, which would be associated with their web page. And since then, it's really evolved a lot. It is now a standalone game. It's not a browser-based game. As you can see, it's an isometric game, but all the models and everything are 3D. The engine itself is 3D. You want to cover some more, Herb?
Oh, okay. We've got it's kind of a sandbox theory mixed with the standard, dungeons. You get, the world's divided up into acre-like territories, and players can claim those. Build anything they want in them: forest, castles, dungeons, whatever, and massive amount of freedom to create what you want using a map editor. You upload it to the game, and it appears in the game world. It's not in a separate zone or anything. It's the main game world. And you can set up doors, switches, traps, whatnot. We're about to add monster spawners to basically allow players to create miniature dungeons, challenges. And at the same time we have the classic dungeons. They're non-instanced. I'll let you go on, Paul, about the skills.
Why don't we go ahead and, while we're doing this, and show off some of the dungeons, and just so that the players have some more gameplay to show off.
Okay, our skill system is classless. You can basically pick and choose any skill you want to use. You don't pick one class and you're stuck with it forever. Currently all of our skills, they're grouped in caps, but we're actually getting rid of that. We decided we want the players to have more freedom, so we're just going to have an overall skill cap, and that's it. You just pick and choose what skills you want to use. And all of the skills, you increase your skill by actually using the skill.
Yeah, the skills in this game are quite unique.
So it's less about
a lot like how many older style MMOs, where you actually have to use the skill in order to gain points in it and level them up. So it's quite unique in that aspect. There's no classes.
We do have quests, but it's not. You don't complete quests in order to advance levels. Pretty much just play the game and your skills go up, and you just use the skills you want to use.
So what inspired you guys to create this game? And right now we are in Tartarus, which is one of the end level dungeons.
Well, originally, Paul and I, boy, what was that? 1989, back in the old days before the internet, BBSs. We were in high school. We started making games. We made a BBS game called Thieves Guild. It was really pretty popular. That was on the old Atari ST. And then we kind of went our separate ways. I worked on a game called Gunman Chronicles in 2000, got published by Sierra, and after that was done, nothing much happened, and then Paul and I started getting together on this idea.
All right, let's go ahead and see if we can get one question from the community, and we'll go on to the next one that I have listed. Does anybody else have some questions? That's a good question. What are the system requirements for this game? They're quite low.
Well, it's hard to say exactly, but basically, it was originally written in DirectX 8, and that's been outdated for quite a while. It's got a DirectX 9 now, but it'll still run in DirectX 8. So if you've got a computer that's 6 years old, it'll run it just fine. It runs pretty well on laptops and even smaller machines. So it's really pretty easy on the requirements. It's got a pretty small memory profile, so it's not going to kill your system.
We do know people have played it with netbooks with no problem.
Yeah, I was able to play it on my mother's laptop, which was quite unique because it was a very, very crappy machine. I'm going to go ahead and go to one of the more specific questions. And this game is unique that you can actually own your own realm and actually have a slot in the land of the game that's part of the living green world. So why don't you guys go in a little bit more detail of what are realms and what are they good for and what's your plans for the future for them?
Okay, as Herb mentioned, there's a very large public area, and then pretty much every one of those public areas has a region that can be claimed and used as a realm. We have an editor, so you can totally customize how you want your realm to look. I mean, you can either build a house, you can just build farmland, whatever. When you're done, you upload that. It appears in the game immediately. Other players can visit it, whether you're online or not. We call them event modules. There's things like doors, switches, traps, pressure plates, spawners, so you can kind of create a complex interaction. In a way, it's kind of like creating your own dungeon. That's kind of what we're moving toward. You can have player-owned vendors where you can sell items. You can have vendors that will sell items. You get a percentage of all of the sales. Your realm's also basically like player-owned housing in other games. You can use it to store your items, to display your items. You can plant crops, grow crops, then use that, harvest that for various crafting skills. One thing about realms, you can share them with your friends and your guild members, so you don't have to have a realm. You actually do have to pay to have a realm. If we didn't, we probably would run out of space real quick. But everything that you do with your realm, you can share with your friends and guild members, so, as long as you have a friend who has a realm, it's almost just as good as having your own.
All right, so Rewolf just teleported us to Blood Quarry, and this little green stuff spewing out of here is the Guano Cave. It is literally a cave covered in bat feces. And in order for this to progress in this dungeon, you actually have to equip a gas mask because you don't want to take damage from all the stinky poo that's in there. Another good question is, what's been the most rewarding aspect of developing this game so far?
Well, I would say, you know, when you make some game mechanics and you put them out there and you see people put them to use, and maybe in a different way than you know, a way you didn't expect. You know, that's the most rewarding thing. Building anything and watching people have fun in it is pretty awesome.
Game development is a great creative outlet, so I highly recommend it.
Yeah, game development programming definitely can be a very creative aspect in one's life. So, what's been the most difficult challenge for you in creating this game so far?
I think the main thing is simply, you know, we're a small indie development company, so as we mentioned, right now there's just 3 of us. So very often we feel kind of like we're biting off more than we can chew. There's so much that we, you know, so many plans we have, and then just to have to put some of those on the back burner or just have development go at a slower pace than we'd like. We've had a really great community who's been very patient with us as we've progressed and given us some great feedback. And we do our best to listen to that feedback and make changes.
Yeah, you guys are pretty. You guys yourself are pretty active on the forums. I've seen a couple posts and topics from you guys, which is really nice to know that you guys, you know, listen and pay attention to the members of your player base, so that they know that you're there and taking their concerns to heart.
Yeah, we also try to meet in game and talk with the players.
Alright, so the first dungeon that we actually got warped to was called Tartarus, and it is a endgame aspect. It's one of the dungeons that you will probably go into later, because you can get some really nice elixirs that'll increase your maximum stats for strength, agility, wisdom, and PSI. But it's also PvP enabled, which means any player can attack any player within it. So what are you guys' plans for the future of expanding PvP?
Well, currently, as I believe Herb already mentioned, you can enable PvP in your realm if you have one. We have various regions, various dungeons and areas that are PvP enabled, so you can attack anybody, consensual or not. Our philosophy is, you know, we prefer consensual PvP combat, since there's some people who just don't like it. You know, but if you are entering an area that is PvP enabled, in a way you've already consented by going there, so that's kind of been our philosophy. As far as looting, certain items can be looted, mostly resources. There are other kind of more special items that also will drop on your corpse when you die that can be looted by other players. We have a dungeon that is kind of like a PvP tournament, sort of like a capture the flag game. And you can actually place a bet in advance of which team will win, and then the winning team gets all of the winnings. Planning, we're planning on adding guild and faction wars, just player-on-player duels. We're also adding a very large area of land that's open PvP that can also be claimed for a realm. So, you know, if you're really into PvP, you'll probably want to have your realm there. We're also thinking about adding other zones that would even have more liberal rules as far as free-for-all looting. You know, people kind of complain about that because, you know, if you've got your really expensive sword, you're never going to want to use it because you might lose it. So, you know, how that all would work, we're not really sure yet. Also, I think it's very likely that eventually we will have a PvP server that will have probably open PvP almost everywhere.
So someone asked a question of me, and this is just something I wanted to get off. Is they asked me what the rating of this game between 1 and 10, and I'd have to say that for its current state, this is a very, very good game. It's it's not finished. It's in beta. It's definitely beta entitles that here's the game, but we're not finished yet. So my actual scale would probably be a 7 out of 10 right now. Really, really close to 8. It's a really good game. It's really enjoyable if you like freedom of choice, developing your character however you want, no classes, and having general just. And if you like the 2D RPG style, Diablo's random statted gear and Ultima Online form of skill changings and stuff like that. This is definitely the game you want to look into and try out. Here's a good question. I think a lot of people are going to be trying to join. So, what are some of the things you can tell new players to keep them interested in the game, and what to look forward to? And maybe some warnings as well.
I think the most challenging aspect right now is just we don't have a really good newbie tutorial yet. That's something we've been working on a lot, but we have not really got anything yet that we're happy with. Fortunately, we have a lot of players who have volunteered to be guides, and they will look for newbies and show them around, teach you basically the basics of the UI. The UI is very simple, but it is different from a lot of other games. There's a slight learning curve. Anyone who's played Ultima Online will feel right at home. It's very similar to Ultima. But once you get the hang of the interface, I think it comes quite natural. We have a small community right now. We haven't spent any money on advertising at all. I think the game will get a lot better as the community improves in size. I think the community itself makes up a lot of the game. So.
And just a quick note for some people who have noticed that I'm not taking any damage. The reason for that is they have decided to give me invisibility to mobs and invulnerability so that I can show you guys the different dungeons and monsters that show off without, having to worry about dying or healing, and so that you guys can see, what to expect in the game and, what's forth. The combat in this game is very engaging, very fun. It can be pretty hectic with certain dungeons and whatnot, especially this one in particular, the gnome dungeon. You find this actual dungeon by killing a gnome that might pop up in your farm, and they drop an enchanted map, and you can teleport to it or open a portal for your friends to go to it and undertake this dungeon. So it's one of those harder to find dungeons, but it's very fun, very rewarding. You get lots of good stuff out of it. So the next question, there is an editor for the realm. When you purchase a realm, it's very robust. You can do quite a bit with it right now. It's somewhat buggy in my opinion, but it's still really nice. My realm I'm happy with what my realm's turned out to be. But what plans do you have in the future for the editor itself?
We had a disadvantage with the editor in that it was one of the very first things we implemented. We needed something that we could use to build the world itself, of course. So we didn't have a lot of foresight when it was first written. Also, we made it very powerful just because we needed the tools for our development. We found that actually isn't necessarily the best idea when you're making a tool for the players, because too many options can often be overwhelming, confusing. So we actually are planning to redevelop the editor from the ground up based on what we've learned, simplifying a lot of the more complex processes. I've been impressed what people have been able to do with it, even in spite of some of the complexities. But I think there is some work that we can do on that, and we definitely will be.
Yeah, we've actually even considered, one of the options would be to allow some realm editing from within the game itself.
That would be a very unique aspect of having be able to change it on the fly without having, you know, to upload and then leave the realm and come back and you know, wait for the change. And so that's definitely would be a nice thing. So one thing I wanted to bring up is you guys recently announced within the game. Oh, there's the ant-eater mount from the Goblin Patriarch. One thing you guys mentioned is you're going to change the way skills work. Can you go into a little bit more detail on what your plans for that is and what it's gonna entitle?
Well, like I said, the main difference is going to be the skill cap. Currently, we've got them grouped by, you know, different types of skills, and then we have a cap applied for that group. But we've really decided that that's probably not the best way. We decided to give players a lot more freedom and just have one global cap for everything. So that's probably the main change. The other change is simply that we're going to add a lot more skills.
Always nice to have more skills to play with.
Yes, definitely. We have one skill we're working on right now. It's called Invocation, which kind of ties in with the realm areas as well. Sometimes, you know, the world's kind of large, and you know, you got players who are customizing their realm, but sometimes, you know, people have complained that some of the area, the realms, there's not much going on. So this new skill actually will allow players to go in and actually start an event in a realm, and they generally have various goals you have to achieve to finish that event within a certain time, and then you can move on to more complex events until it'll culminate with a boss and other special loot you can get that way.
That's always good to know. So this current dungeon is probably one, if you guys are just joining the game, this is going to be one of the first dungeons you're going to want to try to explore. These pitcher plants, there's not very, the soil here isn't nutrient enough, so these plants have become carnivorous. And what they do is if you attack a swarm of bees and lead it to a pitcher plant, it'll grow a bloom, the flower in the middle, which is this thing. And once it ripens into a full fruit, it'll give you a permanent 2 to 4 strength boost, up to a maximum of 40. So you guys can get, you know, you're starting HP and strength from this dungeon, and it's not very hard or complex. So it's a really good dungeon to visit right off the bat. Alright, so I popped them up earlier. The birds in this game are really complex. Could you guys go in a little bit more detail about the breeding system and the AI for the current pets and what the plans for the future for them are?
Okay. Yeah, we have a whole new AI system that we tested out with our first pet, the chicken. Seems like a simple little pet, but it's really turned pretty complicated. Pretty much explores everything we wanted to do with the pet system. So everything they do, the wolf will do, the snapdragons will do, the tigers will do. The wolves will be the next pet that comes out. Basically, imagine a pet system where each pet is individual. Not just how it looks, but its behaviors, personality. These individual properties are stored in a genetic system. When you cross two pets, it mixes the genes and creates offspring that inherit from both parents. And as you do that, you can get genetic drift and see something completely unique. You can work on focusing your breeding program down on a certain trait. Let's say you're working on creating a rare color like a purple. You can breed for personality. You know, you might have some people go for instance, just in the chickens. Some people have mage chickens that wear crystals on their feet, and they can cast spells. So they train them to cast healing spells. If they see that, you can make them so that with a little training, and by the way, you can train them with punish and reward the same way you would a real animal. They can actually learn to heal their owner. So they'll sit in a dungeon and heal you. And if you're smart, you train them to avoid combat, so they'll sit off in a corner and just watch you and heal you. You can also train them to follow you, and maybe that's more useful to you. Or you might want one that's more offensive. You might want one that tries to cast a ethereal well and trap its enemies. You might breed them for fighting in the arena, which has its own prizes, and so it's really kind of a whole game within the game. And like I say, that'll apply to the wolves too. I'm working on those right now. Half the graphics are done for those now. They're going to be even a little bit more intelligent. They'll just basically watch you and learn from you, just kind of in an ambient way also.
One thing you were mentioning about the healer bird, I brought him out, but one of my birds attacked him. The personalities are extremely unique. I've never had a single bird that's the same as another. Orange Ugly there, taking a beating by plucking nuts, is actually my healer bird. And he follows me around because he's a very loyal bird. And he'll heal me when I take damage. And then Plucky Nuts there, he's kind of a fighter bird. I just release him and he picks random targets to attack. And sometimes it's my birds, but because I haven't actually trained him to stop attacking birds, he'll just keep doing it. But I can eventually punish him enough, which I'm going to do right now. You can see the red bing when I hit punish on his bar. If I keep doing that enough, he'll eventually stop attacking birds altogether and only attack monsters. Or I can have them attack other players when I'm in PvP zones and things like that. So yes, it's very robust, and every bird is unique. I think Flaxtor mentioned once that there's over 1 trillion different combinations for birds.
I think it was 27 trillion.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Now, the important thing to think about, though, the brains in these pets are not a list of if statements. It's a really unique way of programming. It's like these asynchronous units that do a very, very simple task, group together and create a network. If you watch the editor, which I don't have any video of it for you, but if you watch the AI editor, you see a thought start off in some corner, and it chain reacts down the system until it hits the movement section of the brain, and he'll take an action. And so there's a whole ton of thoughts that the thing's working on at the same time, and what comes out, even we don't know. We're trying to get our AI, not necessarily every stupid monster, but the ones that matter, to act as much like a living creature as we can.
All right, so you said you did work on some of the wolves, and I know you were showing me that earlier yesterday. Would you mind doing your change skin and showing them what to expect to see when wolves, wherever you ran off to?
Yeah, I can change my skin to a wolf. We also have, the wolves will start off as puppies, and you'll keep those for a month or so before they grow up. So they'll be a lot more invested than the stupid roosters. They grow up in about half an hour.
Yeah, I can train my birds to get max stats within a day if I just sit in my realm AFK currently, which is entertaining. But having a puppy sounds very interesting, and training it and growing it into a full adult wolf that'll follow you around and help you. It seems just way more dynamic than what the roosters offer at this point. There we go. Rewolf just changed into a wolf. This is an example of what one would look like in an adult form. And these some of the animations aren't finished yet, obviously.
This one's just brown because my skin override command doesn't give me skin color controls yet. But they'll look like real wolves. They won't be any weird bright colors or anything. You'll be able to breed for different body types, you know, thick, strong legs and thin, quick legs, and, you know, wizard tendencies or fighting tendencies, whatever.
Yeah, so it's you know, I'm really looking forward to see what other pets you guys are going to be bringing out and what's coming, and especially to see Flaxter expand how the AI works and everything too. His system is extremely interesting, and it's one of the better AIs that I've ever seen in any game, really, more than so than just MMOs, but all games I've played. So let's go on to the next question here. What are the advantages and disadvantages of the current AI system that you guys have?
Well, you know, the old AI system is basic, ordinary game AI. You know, it's quick, it does basic things. You don't see a whole lot of cleverness out of it. Now, this dungeon we're in now is using the new AI, and I'll just give you an example of how these creatures work. There are about 7 kinds of bugs in this dungeon, and there's these earwigs, and if you get more than about 5 or 6 of them together, they will elect a general. Yeah, they actually have an election that goes on, and they'll talk, and they'll choose a leader, and so he becomes a general. And now there's a cricket king that lives down here too, but you know, you get enough earwig population, and they start to rabble rouse, and they're talking about overthrowing the king. And so eventually, you know, if you get one of these generals, near a king, they'll go to battle with each other. You don't even have to fight them; they'll wipe each other out. And then, you know, usually the generals don't win, but you know, you might think about throwing your help in behind the general. It's up to you. And you know, if he beats the king, he gets the crown, and he turns into a king. And you know, they have their own personalities at different phases, and you know, the earwigs are trying to suppress the fungus population, and the fungus population gets out of control. It's this complex mini game going on in this dungeon. It's more than just wiping out monsters randomly. You can find a lot of depth and interesting stuff, and it's because of the AI in this case.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It'll be really interesting to see when you guys actually implement the AI fully into many of the monsters and creatures. I'm sitting here next watching the general chit chat, and he says, "Form up," and all the earwigs threw their pincers into the air and hissed, and then formed right up on top of the general. So, you know, you expect these kind of things coming later down the road. I would believe, and it seems very interesting.
Yeah, they'll even send out scouts. If they see you, they'll warn the general, and he'll form them up and send them out after you. And he bravely stays behind and sends his pawns out for him. Ooh, he just got his butt kicked.
Yeah, a whirlwind right in the face. Poor general. Alright, so I think, and the last thing I want to do then, and then we'll take on the community for all their questions. The last thing I wanted to ask you guys is, currently you guys are working within a 2D, 3D isometric based top-down system. What are the advantages and disadvantages of working within that system? I mean, currently the game's only about 160 megs to download, which is great. So, you know, what are the advantages and disadvantages of working with the current graphics system?
Okay, well, yeah, you know, when you create an isometric game, a lot of them are sprite-based, and you know, ours is sprite-based. But you know, that gives you the ability to put billions of leaves on your trees to make the rocks look rocky instead of just rocks texture on a flat surface. You know, there's no way you could have the poly count to make the game look like it does without using sprites. But you know, when it comes to the characters, you want that smooth animation. And so, you know, it's very difficult to mix a 3D item and a 2D item. It took us a lot of work to experiment, you know, on the perspective and the skews and things. And I think we've got something that works out pretty well. And the advantage is, you know, you get great frame rates on older machines. You know, you don't have to have 5 million polys on the screen at once. But, you know, the disadvantage is that the perspective is fixed. And, you know, wouldn't we all like to be able to move the camera? But, you know, that is the disadvantage with this. I'm pretty happy with how the game looks, you know, aesthetically. And, you know, we try to keep it really interesting with a lot of tree movement and, you know, particle systems and explosions and magic effects.
Yeah, the one thing that's truly really noticeable in this game right away, especially when you get into the later dungeons and stuff, is the artwork and animations are superb. They're very smooth, very fluid. Some are extremely rich and entertaining at times too. Watching in the beginning when I was starting the Vine dungeon, there was one of the goblins I split in half, and its spinal column and brain was there as it was walking around trying to figure out what happened. And here's a war ant.
Oh, actually, that's just me.
Yeah, well, it is Lord Weewolf. He did another skin change. So let's go ahead and start answering some of the community questions. So if you guys have any questions, pop them out there. I'm sure the developers will be happy to answer them for you. Let's see. Try to see if I haven't seen. Oh, here's a question. How long does it take to make? Did it take to make this?
It's kind of hard to say because, as I mentioned earlier, this game has evolved a lot, and it's evolved a lot from what it was originally intended to be. Also, throughout, you know, we started earlier kind of part-time and then moved into more full-time work. I would probably say, you know, we've been working on it pretty hard for probably 4 or 5 years.
Alright, well that's pretty good. Picati asks, are there any future plans for more races, and are you going to make them, any of them, gender specific, like the kitties and the cannons?
You know, given enough resources, I'd make races all day long. I think that making your character very individual to yourself, yeah, I think you should be able to recognize your friends by looks, not just by the name tag. And you know, I won't be happy till we've got 20 races. I might stop making races at about 20. So, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty high priority to me. Maybe when we can afford to get a few extra artists, we'll start onto that.
Alright, so another question is, where do you see this game in 6 months?
Oh, well, you know, we're basically going to be adding more content, more skills. You know, my goal in 6 months would be to have a thriving community. That would be, you know, absolutely perfect, because the community is what makes an MMO fun. And you know, ours has been kind of small in the beta phase. We're now trying to build it up, and that's why we're glad to talk with you guys. So yeah, you know, in 6 months, if we could fill the servers enough to open up more servers, that would be awesome.
I guess we could talk a little bit about some of the things we have slated for the future. I mentioned earlier that we were planning on adding more skills. One that we've really wanted to get in soon is blacksmithing. We've got several crafting skills like tailoring and cooking and that sort of thing. One thing that's obviously lacking is blacksmithing. We haven't done that yet just because the way we want to do it right, which basically entails a whole new mining system. And to do that, we're planning on having mines that reset every day, and then the players will carve tunnels through and find veins of ore and follow those veins of ore, which occasionally may open up in caverns with various spawns, events, treasure rooms, who knows. So it's a different experience every time. We also would like to implement a weaponsmithing skill that literally lets you customize a weapon all the way from appearance and on. We also have kind of a new twist we would like to implement on PvP, which is basically allowing players to take possession of monsters and fight as a monster. So anytime you're up against a monster, you may be up against another player and not even know it. We also want to implement a healer skill, like a support skill. We have some pretty good design in place already for that. I think that'll go pretty quick. I mentioned earlier the invocation stuff, so we expect to see a lot more in the way of realm events and things to do in player realms. We've also talked about players creating religions, which is sort of kind of a subset of magic. We haven't really released the design details on that yet, but I think that'll be a fun aspect.
Alright, let's see if we can find another question. I saw one earlier and I'm trying to find it. I can't remember what it was. Oh, yeah, here's a good one. What are the current skills in the game?
Okay, we've got 3 combat skills. We've got severing, which is, anything with a bladed weapon, axes, swords. Mauling, which is basically your maces, any blunt weapons. We have marksmanship, which is, crossbows, archery. We have another skill called battle tactics. Each weapon has a set of special maneuvers and tactics that you can do with it. It uses up your stamina, so you can't just do them forever, but you can choose one of those, and then most of them, you choose the tactic you want to use, and then on your next hit, you'll execute that tactic. We've got cooking. Like I said, you can grow your crops in your realm, and then use those to cook, to create foods. In LinkRealms, most of your heals, are with things you eat or drink. You can also use magic, and we're planning on adding this other healer support skill. There's tailoring, so you can craft your own clothing. You can enhance items, so if you've got an item that is pretty good but not great, you can enhance it, but you take the chance of damaging it, so there's that. We have a skill called prospecting, which allows you to basically just go prospect for, you can dig holes anywhere, you might find something in it, you can pan for gold and gems. That will probably tie in with the mining skill as well, when that's in place. We have 2 magic skills right now, sorcery and clairvoyance. Sorcery is your standard magic. In order to use magic, you need to have your staff equipped, and clairvoyance is different in that it's mental magic, so you don't need any tool at all to do those. Clairvoyance is usually for buffs and debuffs, for controlling monster behavior. You can get monsters to attack what you want them to attack, or other monsters. You can, kind of a peace skill to get monsters to stop attacking you, or to become invisible to monsters. We have, I don't know, when you die, we actually have creatures that only exist in an astral plane, so you can only see when you're dead. And they will kind of try to prevent you from resurrecting. So we've got some clairvoyant skills that work only when you're dead, mainly to fight those astral creatures, to preserve your corpse so it won't decay, so you can get back to your body quicker. We have a skill called Shamanism, which is probably going to be expanded into that healer support skill I talked about earlier, but it's also a crafting skill. Mysticism is the religion-based system that's still in the works. We have 4 regeneration skills, one for each of your reservoirs, one to regenerate your life, one to regenerate your stamina, one to regenerate your mana, and one to regenerate your psionics. Mana is used for sorcery, and psionics is used for all of your clairvoyant spells. And like I said earlier, stamina is for your battle tactics. And we also have a hiding skill to become invisible from other players. That's useful in PvP. We have a lockpicking skill. So that's kind of what we do right now.
Alright, let's see if I can find another question here. Question, will there be mines you can own for yourself that won't reset?
We've had a lot of players request the ability to add an underground section to their realm. That's something we're certainly open to. Most people kind of want it to create a dungeon. As far as mines, I can't really say for sure because we don't have that mining system in yet. But, you know, I wouldn't rule it out.
Alright,
Yeah, our plans for
oh, sorry, go ahead.
our plans for the mining system are pretty cool. You know, you're going to actually dig in the ground, you know, clear space, and you'll be able to sample the dirt, follow veins of ore, and you know, it's going to be a lot more fun than just going and beating on some crystal object that appears every 10 minutes.
Alright, let's see if there's any other questions. I'm looking for some more. It seems somebody's trying to decide to get Project Zomboid questions started early. Let's see here. Any other questions for LinkRealms devs? Oh, here's a good one. Is there any Twitter, Google Account Plus accounts you can allow us to follow for keeping update with LinkRealms?
Not yet. We have a Facebook page, but that's about it. We really need to get that stuff in place to start building up the community. Like I said, we haven't done any advertising to date, so there hasn't been a lot of need yet, but we definitely need to get on that.
Here's let's see. How many different textures are used in LinkRealms?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. Well, I'll just kind of run down what I know of the content we have. We have 1,600 model skins. That would be monsters and hats and shoes and, you know, parts to player models. We have 1,500 particle systems and almost 6,000 objects in the game. That could be anything from a piece of a fence to a tree. And, you know, so it's actually got quite a bit of content spread around in it. As far as you know, items that you can pick up and use and that do things, I think we have oh, I don't know, 1,800 of those. So, you know, it's actually it's got a lot of content in it compared to a lot of you know, beta projects.
Alright, let's see if I can find another question for you guys. If you guys spot a question that I may miss, feel free to answer it. I'll just go ahead and answer this. There's one guy who asked for payment for free for offline and pay for online. This is an MMO that's currently in beta. This is an always online game. Everybody shares the same server. You're not sharded or instanced. Everything shares one single a universe basically for the players to play in. So when you walk across the wilderness and run into a realm and it's owned by a player, there's a chance that it'll always be there and it'll always be a player's realm that's there. So you don't have to worry about being the same channel or being the EU server compared to the US server. At least that's what I believe the plan that you guys are going to stay with is keeping it on one server, correct?
Well, it'll always be an MMO. I don't ever see it being offline, but as far as having more than one server, I certainly hope we will need to. We haven't had the need to add another server because, like I said, the community is small, but it gets large enough, then yes, we will be adding additional servers.
Someone asked, is there going to be a farming profession?
That's something we've thought about. It's a big part of the game. Like I said, you grow these crops. It's one of the main things you can do with your realm. So we have had people suggest a farming skill that would, increase your yield. Maybe things to allow plants to grow faster and that sort of thing. And I think that's a great idea.
So I just slash who command. We got quite a few people on today. It's the highest number I think I've seen online since I've joined this game. And I've been, in case you're curious, guys, I've been playing for a little under a month now, and my character still isn't quite as big and as powerful as some of the other veteran players, and obviously nowhere near as powerful as a dev. But I currently have the invulnerability and God mode on from the developers, so I can show you guys the dungeons, and you guys can see, different dungeons and what to expect. But yeah, just like how they've reiterated, the plans for this game are going to be big, and I'm sure that if you guys have suggestions, post suggestions on the forums. They tend to watch it. Let's see if I can find another question.
Yeah, we're definitely interested in player feedback. Since we're here at the arena, maybe Herb could explain how the arena works.
Okay. Well, once you've trained up, one of your roosters,
I'll go ahead and submit.
You can enter them in. There's a fee based on what tier the bird is. They fight their way up through the tiers, and they can win awards as they go up for various things, and it collects them all in tier 6, any of them that make it that far, and the every 3 days or so there's a big event. All the tier 6 birds fight it out, sudden death, and by the way, when they die, they actually just go back into their little cage. They don't actually die. They have a lifespan of 30 days, but they are not harmed in the arena. But anyway, and then you end up with one winner. He gets a trophy, gets a bunch of other loot, and goes up on the winners board for about a month, and he gets a huge number of breeding rights and special sparkly medallion. I mean, a lot of people put a lot of time into the training on this, different strategies, like, they'll try to get a wizard bird to, like here's one, it's captured its enemy into an ethereal well. If someone had trained this thing well, it would run back far away from it and fire in on it while it was trapped. Boy, when you watch the finals, the fights are pretty amazing between those well-trained birds. So it's a fun little mini game within the game. Probably not going to have that for the wolves. They'll probably have something completely different. But the arena is something everyone looks forward to once every 3 days or so.
Okay, I have two questions here. Will there be any mountable, rideable pets, and will there be an alchemy profession?
Well, the horses... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, as far as alchemy, kind of cooking is our alchemy. Like I said, you eat food and drink to heal, and we're going to add a lot more buffs as well. So that's kind of our alchemy in LinkRealms. As far as mounts, go ahead, Herb.
Well, they're going to be basically like any of the other pets, a breedable, genetic personality having pet. It's not going to just be a car you drive around and just go fast. You got a horse, and it'll go where you want mostly. You can get off of it, and it'll do what it does. You can load it up with items and pack them out. So it's going to have a personality. It's not just going to be a something that appears under you when you activate it. So it'll be a little different than the other mounts in a lot of games.
All right. Let's see if there's any other questions I get. We've got a few minutes before the end of the stream. And okay, let's see here. Will there be an engineering profession?
As far as crafting, what specifically? I mean, like I said, we're still going to add more crafting skills, so I'm not sure exactly what that would entail.
Alright, see if, will there be guilds or personal house system?
There are guilds now, and basically our player housing is realms. So, you have your realm, you can go ahead and build a guild castle if you want, and you can friend all of your guild members. You can create chests for storage for just your guild members, so you don't have to worry about people stealing your stuff, while still giving access to all of your guild mates. The guild system is something we also want to expand, like I mentioned earlier with guild warring, so there will be some of that coming.
I'm just going to answer this one. What are the current classes? There actually are no classes in this game. It's similar to how Ultima Online RuneScape works, where using your actual skill increases its potential to be better. So there are no classes.
Somebody asked here, I see, are realms ever going to be free? I'd just like to address that. The main problem we have with that, the world is finite. Like I mentioned, the realms are pretty big. So, we have a certain number of realms we can support per server, so that's the only reason why we do charge for the realms. But, you can essentially have a realm for free if you have a friend who has one. He can give you permission to do pretty much everything he could do with the same space. As far as everything else with our item store, there is absolutely no content in this game that free players cannot access. You can go to every dungeon that all of the paying players can use. You can use all the same weapons and armor. Really the only thing is realm ownership is the only thing that you can't do if you don't ever spend any money.
Here's another question. Will controls become WASD or arrows keys later on in the game?
I don't see any reason we can't add arrow keys for movement. WASD is, well, I mean, it's a fixed viewpoint, so you're not going to be rotating the camera and that sort of thing for the reasons that Herb mentioned earlier.
All right. Let's see here. Trying to see if I can say. Will the realms ever become bigger later on in the game?
I'm not sure about that. That would be quite a change to the engine. Like I said, there could be a possibility of adding an underground area to an existing realm, so that is a possibility. I see somebody asked if you can customize your hotkeys. There is full hotkey customization in the settings menu.
Yeah, I'm showing off the menu for the hotkeys now. You can. There's a lot of hotkeys. You can even have it say a message if you want.
Yeah, I think we've got pretty much, almost everything you can do in game. You can create a hotkey for.
Oh, here's a good one. I like this one. Are any chances of weather, climate, and seasons, kind of things like that, getting added into the game?
We don't have seasons yet. We do have weather, though. In fact, one of our philosophies, like we have certain weapons that have a certain bonus that only works during a thunderstorm. We have certain weapons that have a bonus that only happens at night, one that only happens in day. And we definitely would like to add more climates and seasons. I think is a great idea, but we like to make them relevant and actually affect the gameplay if we do that.
What is the current death penalty? Just put that one in there.
Right now, the only death penalty is the time it takes you to get resurrected. Also, some of your items do drop on your corpse and could be looted by other players if you're in some of the public areas. That can't happen in town, but that's really, we don't have any like skill penalties on death.
One of the questions is a little different. Is there ever going to be an option where chat isn't default, where you have to push enter to chat so you can use regular keys and hotkeys instead of alt and control?
Yeah, that's actually been something that people have suggested a while back. We're just about to make some improvements on the UI, so that's probably one we'll do.
All right, and let's get one more question, and then we'll begin to end this stream. This game is called LinkRealms, by the way, for those who are still asking. And what about a Skyrealm where you can get a dragon and ride it with? Will that ever be added to the game, or can you try?
That's just probably not too feasible with this engine. Yeah, I don't think we'll have flying mounts.
Well, I guess you could have flying mounts, but they just wouldn't be able to control a Z-axis.
Sure, yeah. So they're technically not flying. They may look like they are, but...
And here's the boss for Tartarus that you guys are seeing. This is Omega Cow and Alpha Bull. I love it. I am the Alpha and I am the Omega. That's all I have to say. So let's go ahead and end the stream. Up next is Project Zomboid interview with Army. We have Lemmy, and I believe Binky has joined us as well. I'm not positive, don't quote me. So you guys enjoy it. This was LinkRealms interview with the devs, Quester Fuse, and Rewolf. Thank you for joining us, and feel free to join the game, leave suggestions and comments on the forums, and play and ask questions. I'm sure they'll stick around for a little while to help you guys out in the game. You guys have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thanks for inviting us.
Glad to have you guys along.